And we're live again. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my live Facebook video stream here on, where else but Facebook, of course. Today I put a poll out this morning on my Twitter about what do you guys want to ask about, what do you want to learn about, what kind of topics do you want to go over, and the winning one came out as cardio and abs or fat loss as well. So over the past couple of weeks I've talked a lot about nutrition, meal prep, training, been at Gold's Gym here in Venice, California a couple of times. So today we're back in my house and we're gonna start talking about cardio, abs and fat loss. So I've got my laptop down here. I'm gonna watch the questions that you guys are asking as well as filming. I can see them up on the phone here too. So I'll do my best. I know a couple of you are kind of spamming your questions trying to get me to answer them. So keep doing that. I'll do my best. The questions kind of go up pretty quickly. So, okay, I can see the questions here. I'm going to start things off with just giving my thoughts about cardio, and then we'll come into abdominal training and fat loss too. So let me start off by saying, first of all, thank you for joining me wherever you are watching in the world. I appreciate all of you guys. You're smart, you're intelligent. For the most part, you ask great questions that really make me think, and for that, I love you guys. So shout out to all my fans in England, here in the US, India, Australia, Netherlands, and everywhere else. Just saw someone there from India. Okay, let's get started. So cardio. First of all, and again, this is all my opinion, my experience. I'm not saying it's the definitive answer. I know there's a lot of, now more than ever, a lot of influential people out there on various social media platforms, way more than when I first started out, and it's like MySpace wasn't even going then. So this is just kind of my story, my path that has worked best for me, and yeah, we'll get things started off. So I've spoken before on my streams, these Facebook videos, which you can see on a playlist now on my Facebook channel. I'll just go to the video tab and you can see all of the ones that I filmed over the past last month. And so my story first started when I was sort of 14, 15, wanted to build biceps and six-pack abs, and first got into weight training or bodybuilding, I guess, really, back when I was 14. So I wanted to first start competing in my late teens, 19, 20. I actually did my first show when I was 21. And someone said, wave if I've seen this. There you go, Jamie Goodman. Now, I'm seeing all of your posts come up, so I'm trying to speak to you guys at the camera and also look down here at my computer. Just here, I don't know if you can see it yet, at the questions. So for the next 10 minutes or so, usually at least double that, I'll talk and then start to fill in the questions. So, Hassan, I see you asking there about six-pack without cardio. I'll come back to that one real soon. So I first wanted to compete, and I knew conditioning was, certainly for me, one of my kind of focus points. I'm not a big guy, and by that I mean I weigh 175 pounds, 80 something kilos, and for my height, that's kind of normal, 5'10". I'm not walking around at 210, 220 pounds. So I don't have mass on my side, and I gather some of you might be looking at me like, dude, you got some muscle on you, like what are you talking about? Look, when we're talking about competition on the stage, we all know now that whichever category, organization, competition, for the most part, it's the leanest, most conditioned, well-balanced person that places the highest. Unless you're really talking about bodybuilding, and that's kind of just monster in size and mass, but conditioning is still important. So I knew conditioning was something that I really needed to get my head around, and cardio proved to be definitely something that I needed to focus on. Cardio, nutrition, supplementation in there, which did give me an edge, like the extra 2%. Certainly mentally, I just felt, because I was committing to everything, that's where I was seeing the best changes. So I'm going to start to talk about cardio, how it helped me, how I still rely on it. I'm still a fan. And I've tried doing it without cardio. I've tried getting ready for a competition without using cardio, just basically focusing purely on my diet training even twice a day, sometimes in the morning and again at night. And I definitely saw an improvement, but I didn't see the same level of conditioning as when I was doing cardio as well. So to answer your question, can you get abdominals and can you get in great shape without cardio? Yes, you can. You know, providing you're following a good, solid nutrition, regular, consistent with it, and your weight training, you can definitely see some improvements. If we're talking about getting to the best that you can possibly get, in my opinion, cardio certainly for me is a must. And the reason for this, when you think about it, besides the health benefits, obviously, if you're conditioning your cardiovascular system, you're taking care of pretty much all of the internal stuff, the healthy stuff that as we get older becomes more and more important. But for fat loss, cardio, depending on the type, which I'll get onto, primarily uses fat, body fat, as its preferred or primary fuel source. So weight training, if you think about it, and this is a very black and white kind of explanation, but it's how I first got my head around it and started to look at things. If you look at weight training and cardio, weight training, for the most part, uses muscular energy, glycogen, you know, basically carbohydrates, or however the body converts it based on your diet, uses muscular energy as its fuel when weight training. Cardio, body fat, primarily, again, black and white here. So by adding in cardio to take care of the fat loss and adding in the weight training to basically continue to deplete muscle glycogen, and therefore with my diet and with my foods, be able to continually replenish that, that's how I found I was able to keep muscle fullness and size and focus on, you know, we talk about conditioning and separation. That's nothing more than really taking care of body fat, reducing body fat levels so that you can clearly see the muscle heads, the insertions, the origins. That's how you get the cut. So it really is a combination of diet, training, and for me, cardio as well, and supplementation thrown in there just to enable me to recover better, to, you know, focus more when I'm in the gym. So we'll talk about that in another video. So I know a lot of you guys have questions about that. So cardio, I started to really look into, and I mean like go crazy. If I find some of the old articles and posts I used to just write down for myself, it was, I look back at it now and I'm like, damn, I was really into it. So I used to actually go out, this was back when I lived in England, at Farnborough playing field, I think it was, where they had the Donkey Derby. It's right near Bob's Weightlifting Club, near Aldershot, Farnborough area. So if you're familiar with the area, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I used to go out there with my heart rate monitor on, and I would do interval sprints. So I basically jogged to this field 3, 4, 5 minutes away. And once I got there, I'd kind of map out, I guess, what would be 100 yards, something like that. Basically, I'd sprint for, this is how focused I'd be on it. I'd sprint for maybe 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds at max, no more. And that would be the distance I would go. So let's call it 100 yards. After my warm up, my little jog there, I would start at point A and sprint as fast as I could to point B. All out effort, as fast as I could, running, sprinting. Once I got to that point B, so initially I timed it for about, I think 30 seconds. Let's call it 100 yards. I'd then walk back. That would be my recovery. Once I get back to point A, I'd sprint again. So it would be sprint, walk back, sprint, walk back. Christian there commenting about the older Donkey Derby, so I guess you know exactly what I'm talking about. What I would, first of all, the reason I would do this, because as I was researching, reading books, asking questions, basically just asking anyone I could that I felt could provide the answer, what type of cardio would be best for me if I want to burn body fat and not waste muscle? And I think we've all asked that question, especially when we're starting off, because we view things as a very black or white kind of response. If we're looking to do, I say do a competition, but by that I mean just we're focused on getting to the end goal. The end goal would be either maximum weight loss, for the majority of us conditioning, getting that look, looking like, you know, all of these inspirations, and I had mine, I've talked about them on the first or second Facebook stream. So we really want to know what's the best form of cardio without sacrificing muscle, you know, without getting that stringy, lean, kind of too wrought out look, and still keep that muscle fullness. So HIIT training was one of the first forms of cardio that I did, and it would resolve in me sprinting and walking back, sprinting and walking back. And you can do this on a variety of other machines, treadmill with an incline, spin bike definitely, rower machine, the Concept 2 is a great machine for that. So what I would do is I'd have my heart rate monitor on, and it was one of the ones that you can connect to the computer, and it would give you all of the, they all do now of course, but this was like 10, 12 years ago. It was still like only a couple of watches did that. So after I did these sprints, and I'd be very meticulous about my timing. So I'd basically be not stop watching my recovery, I would take into account my heart rate monitor. This is how deep I went with this. And when I pulled it up on the computer, I'd see my heart rate obviously increase as I started to sprint, and then I'd watch the segment at which my heart rate would drop back down. So this is going back some years, and again, I'll try and pull out, I saw it the other month when I was moving. It's a great visual tool, if anything, to show HIIT training, the essence of interval training. So my heart rate basically would spike up, and then it would drop back down quicker, so it would be a shorter drop in the early stages. So the first 3 or 4 sprints out of 10, let's say, I'd sprint, walk back, sprint, walk back. Within the first 4 of those intervals, my heart rate would spike a bit and then drop fairly quickly to its, I don't want to say recovery, but it would be about 65%, 70% of my theoretical maximum heart rate, if you like. So I'd wait until I'd see on my heart rate watch what that would be. Something like 132, 137 beats per minute. Again, it's a guesstimate now. But once my heart rate would reach that, that would be my cue to start sprinting again. So my recovery time, based on walking back, I mean, if by the time I reached the end point of that sprint and walked back, if my heart rate was at that 65, 70% max, I'd just turn around and sprint. But if it was still continuing to drop down, the length of time at which I would wait before my next sprint would be when I got my heart rate back down to that point. And what I'm getting at here is it would be much quicker, shorter period during the first 3, 4, even 5 intervals. Obviously my heart rate would recover because I'm kind of just sprinting, and then it would recover. But from that 4th, 5th and 6th sprint onwards, the recovery time would be that much longer. By the time I walked back from the end sprint, I might be kind of basically just stood there or kind of just moving on the spot for an additional 10, 15, 20 seconds. So that recovery time may initially only be the length of time it takes me to walk back, some 30, 35, 40 seconds. But towards the end of those 10 interval sprints, I'd see my recovery time increase up to 45 seconds, even a minute perhaps. So obviously this was an increased recovery time for me. So me being the type of person I am, very analytical, I love numbers, I love facts, I love information, something that I can see and test and see if I have a different effect, like a little scientist. In fact, if I went back to school, that's definitely what I'd do instead of media. By the way, I see you guys keep posting all of your questions. I'll come to that, so just keep spamming your questions and I'll get to that. I just want to get the kind of the essence of cardio, in my opinion, out the way. So here's what I would do based on having those times, and you know, you can just with a regular heart rate watch keep track of your heart rate and what it comes back down to. I'd then see, can I improve my recovery times? And if obviously I'm improving my recovery times, my body is therefore adapting, becoming more efficient at doing that. Look, if you did the same interval sprints, let's say every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and so on, and you always sprinted to a certain distance, walked back, allowed your heart rate to drop back down to a certain point, and then sprint. If you kept on doing that, your body would become more more efficient at doing that, and therefore your recovery times would start to shorten. So I'd keep an eye out for this, and besides looking at my weight on the scales and tons of other things, I was doing body fat measurements like every week, taking measurements of like muscle groups. But I also look at this, the heart rate recovery time, and see if when my body starts to close that gap on the recovery, then all right, Marco, you keep posting that comment. I'll get you at some point. That's when my body would start to adapt. So I knew that my body would obviously give out less body fat as fuel because it's more efficient at basically storing and using energy. So that would give me a cue to switch things up. Anyway, fast forward now to actually getting the results and giving you the answer that I think the reason why you're watching, what cardio is best. I would basically use my interval training and supplementation as well. I start to include BCAA, branched chain amino acids. I'd be taking green tea extract, caffeine. I'd be taking obviously glutamine as well. And I would do cardio fasted. I found out pretty early on that if I did cardio fasted, providing not for too long, and I would eat fairly soon after, fat is definitely the preferred fuel source. You know, if you go to bed, obviously you don't eat, you wake up relatively early. I'm not talking about doing cardio at 9, 10 a.m. and then I'm not eating my first meal until perhaps 10, 10:30, 11. I'm talking about, this is commitment at its finest. I'll be up at 5:30, I'll be at the field by 6 a.m. I'd be doing my sprints, and I'll be back having breakfast by 7 a.m. And if you saw my last live Facebook stream on Friday, I talked about my meal times, and the first breakfast was at 7 a.m. So I got my cardio and my fat burning essentially done, plus my ab training before my first meal. So I managed to stay on track. I found HIIT training to be a really great kind of fat burning type of cardio, but I found it to be best in the early stages when I was carrying a little bit more body fat. And I realize I'm talking about the difference between 10 or 8% and 5 and 6%. For the average person, that's still an incredible level of conditioning, and something like, if I can stay at that and go no higher than 8 or 10 for the rest of my life, then that's awesome. But we're talking about getting the best out of your training and even competition aspect. So I found HIIT training to be great in the early stages. Let's say we've got a 12-week period from point A to your end goal, competition, photo shoot, just a deadline perhaps. HIIT training I definitely make use of in the first 4-6 weeks. And the reason I'm not a huge fan of it during the final weeks, if you like, the run up to the end goal, is I just found I was so drained that even though I could commit myself and deliver those explosive sprints, because my metabolism would be so revved up after, and because my body would be obviously holding less body fat, it's got less stored fuel, survival fuel if you like, and because my diet would be coming back down, I'd be so hungry and depleted that it's all I could think about. So I don't know if that's just a mindset. I mean, I was definitely focused, certainly in the early years, with doing everything I could. But those interval sprints just left me so depleted and drained that I just felt that it wasn't going to do me justice in those final weeks. So I started to mix up more of the steady pace list, low intensity cardio, longer periods, 45 minutes up to an hour. And I know people might be saying, well, that's too long, you're gonna burn muscle with that. No, you don't. Get that thought out of the head. If you wake up, even fasted cardio, and you're doing an hour of cardio, I'm not talking about sprinting for an hour. I'm talking about being on the elliptical, the cross trainer, something that will at least take your heart rate up to something that is a normal thing for you. Not walking on a treadmill at a normal pace. One of my favorite forms of this cardio is the the incline on a treadmill, ramping up to 15%, and some machines now go up to 20, even 30%. Not holding on so much because you're kind of defeating the object of your body doing the work then, but having it at maybe 8% incline at a brisk walk speed. And I basically wouldn't change this. My body would start to sweat after about 20 minutes, and I'd maybe take the speed up 1 or 2 notches of the incline as well, and just keep pushing my body. Here's my point on low intensity cardio. If you can maintain an audible conversation, let's say you and a buddy or workout partner are doing it, if you're doing your cardio and you can't really talk or hold a conversation with someone, that was always the cue for me, as I'm kind of pushing myself beyond that point. And going back to HIIT training and low intensity, you've got to look at the fuel mixture for the body. So with that interval training, it's a mixture of muscle glycogen and fat. With that lower intensity, more continued cardio for a length of time, there's obviously a higher proportion of body fat rather than muscle glycogen. So those were 2 things that I'd really look into. So really, when it comes down to cardio now, and I'm getting to the end of the cardio talk here, I would combine interval training with low intensity. And a good rule of thumb that I found works at least is that lower intensity for 45 minutes, and especially if you're starting off, I always want to have somewhere to go with my cardio, with my diet, with my training. And by that, I mean, if you start at a 12-week, training program, I wouldn't say absolutely jump in and do cardio every day, do abs every day, here's a workout for every day of the week, and here's your diet perfectly. Your body's going to adapt to that at some point, and you're not going to be able to kind of push it or get more out of it. I hear my dog barking outside. Maybe I'll let her in, but she'll be all in my face here. So there's that combination that I would start to have two lower intensity cardios, only about 30 minutes. So let's assume that this is the beginning of a 12-week program. I might not do cardio every day. In fact, I wouldn't. I'd do cardio probably every other day, and there'd be 30 minutes for lower intensity cardio. And then once, twice a week, I'd do just 15 minutes of high intensity cardio, sprint training. The following week, or at least every other week, so at certain points, and it's kind of different for everyone depending on what it is you want to do, where you're starting. Hence why I can't just say do this. But if you want to see my program and workout plan, you can go on to, in fact, I'll show you the website. Go on to True Performance Nutrition, it's my sports website, and click on athletes, and it's got my full breakdown there, my cardio, my weights workout routine. I'll put it up on the computer here. So there'd be stages at which I would increase both the frequency and the length of time, the interval between the cardio I would do and the type of cardio and the length. So there'd always be a little bit more coaxing my body, if you like, to give up a little bit more body fat, to work a little bit harder, to use up more energy. At the same time, I'm slowly bringing my calorie intake down a little bit and pushing my body to the max in the gym. So it is a lot of stress on the body, and that's why I like to do things in small stages and adjust little factors along the way as opposed to just do everything at once. So let's wrap up cardio. It's all coming back to me now. There's a ton of... Okay, let me just show this to you. So this is my new sports website. If you go to athletes, can't show it and look. Here we go. It's got a full training overview there. So trueperformancenutrition.com, click on athletes up at the top, and you can see a full training program down there. And then if you want to learn more about cardio and abs training, head over to the Facebook page. You're on Facebook now. True Performance Nutrition. Like that, be aware of the content on there, and if I can find that cardio split, I'll put it on there. I'll post it on there hopefully today. If not, I'll include some other videos and content on there about stuff that we've spoken about: cardio, ab training, fat loss. All right, let's get to some questions, because I appreciate you guys watching, and this is a live stream, so let me ask some questions. All right, bear with me 1 second. Let me refresh the Facebook page, and let's see what you guys are asking. Okay. Would you recommend doing cardio on a lifting day to get ripped, or is it better to separate? This is by Jens. I'll do my best to pronounce some of these names. By the way, is protein a steroid? Never heard that before, Jack. No, protein, not a steroid, so go ahead with the protein. Okay, a question about separating cardio and weight training. This is a really great question, so I appreciate you asking it, Jens. I used to, when I very first started out, I'd go for a run. I didn't know anything. I'd literally just go for a run around the field. I was probably 14, 15. I'd go for a run, 40, 45 minutes, because that was the right thing to do in my mind. It was healthy, kind of fat loss. And then I'd come back, and I think we've all been there at some point. I had a Weeder weight bench set up in my parents' garage, actually. And I'd just lift weights, and I'd have a magazine open, Flex, I think. I'd be following Jay Cutler's 2-hour chest workout, 2 hour for me, trying to do every exercise that he did and follow everything to the letter. Of course, that didn't work for me for various reasons, but as I found out more, doing cardio first followed by weight training, again, in my opinion, isn't the best format for you to do if your focus is on muscle fullness and taking care of body fat, reducing it down. So what I would start to do is, yeah, separate them. I'd do cardio in the morning, fasted cardio. I used to wake up, do my interval sprints, or I had a spin bike in the garage. I was 16, 17 back then. So I'd get my cardio done, and I'd set it all up, a full month planner. I'd have these 3 large month planners up on my wall, and I would literally go through with a pen and write down everything, what cardio I would do, on what days, for how long, at what time. So I already had this 12-week plan set out. And this was before anyone kind of told me how to do it. It was just, I thought, okay, if I'm gonna start at point A and I wanna get here, I need to understand what steps I've got to take. Kind of like a roadmap. Someone said to me, if you're leaving your house and you wanna get to, let's say, the gym or a new gym, this is a good example, you're gonna need to know the directions. So you're gonna find out the directions and have them all laid out in front of you. And when you start to follow them step by step, it's the most direct, efficient way to get there. This is what it was for cardio for me. So I'd be doing my cardio early morning, fasted. Then I'd do weight training at least 2 or 3 meals after. So it might be 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Typically it was like 4 or 5 p.m. or after I left school, came back from school, ate my tuna and whatever else I was eating, and then ride my bike or get my mum to drop me off at the gym. Funny story there, just going back, because I feel knowing about, not about me, but just knowing a little bit more of the history behind it, you can kind of relate to a little bit more about why I like to do the things that I do. There's always a kind of a method or a reason behind it, rather than just, oh, I'm going to try that. Well, at least if I do try that, I want to see if it works. So the first gym that I went to, I mentioned this before, is Bob's weightlifting club, Farnborough Weightlifting Club. This old scouts hut in Farnborough, South Hampshire, near Aldershot in England. My window cleaner, Bob Campbell, who's a world powerlifting champion, was our window cleaner, and he said, come down to the gym, I'll show you how to lift some weights. So this was like a mile or 2 away from the house. I was just 15, I think. So I got my mum to drive me down there. I'll never forget, there was these 2 big doors, and as I walked in, I'm like 14, stringy little arms, in like this running tank top with tiny little running shorts on, because I didn't know anything different. And my mum all dressed up in her scarf and a jacket. We walk in, and there's these like 220, 230 pound bodybuilders, shirtless, most of them. It's not that kind of gym, it's just, I don't know why they were shirtless, that's just how they train. But I remember they literally stopped and looked around, and there was me with my mum stood there. My mum looked down at me and said, something to the effect of, are you sure you want to do this? Like, do you want me to leave you, basically? Do you want to come back with me? Are you sure you want to stay here? And I remember looking up at her and just saying, like, yes. Like, this was, for me, entering into adultship, if you like. Men lifting weights, mirrors everywhere, some, I don't know what it was, garage, 2-step garage back then, playing on this old stereo system. And that was the first time that I really got to experience weight training and just fell in love with a place that you can build yourself. And that's how I see it now. Going into the gym now, I still kind of get that feeling sometimes where, all right, let's get to work. This is my choice, my opportunity, my time to work on me. And it's not just the body, it's that mental aspect too. So I realize, as I always do, I talk and I go full circle, but let me just come back to that question, Jens, about cardio. I find that separating cardio in the morning fasted, and then weight training after you've had a good couple of meals, maybe towards the latter part of the day when muscle glycogen has kind of filled up, that's delivered the best results for me. Recently, I've turned it around a little bit, weight training in the morning, and then I'm doing cardio at night. I'm not saying that that's the best, it's just that's how I fit my schedule in right now. But cardio and weight training separately. If you do combine them together, weight training and then 20 minutes of cardio, normally HIIT training after, maybe because muscle glycogen has already worked, so you're going to continue fat loss, you're going to boost your metabolic rate by something like 5% for the next 8 hours. So that's another reason why I like doing cardio, even if it's HIIT training in the morning, is because I get that added boost of increased metabolism, the rate at which my body will burn calories for food. So it will increase that rate for the next 6 or 8 hours, as opposed to maybe doing that at night where I'm fasted. So yeah, I would separate them. Okay, James, just saw your question about if it fits your macros. It's a bit off topic. I'm doing a lot of that recently. Off topic, not that. Look, my thoughts are, if it's something that fits into your schedule, I've done paleo before where I basically didn't have carbohydrates and I got nearly the same results. I'm not saying follow one particular thing. I don't buy into it that much, providing it's good quality food. I'm not talking about swapping. I know it's the kind of the debunked myth of if it's a carbohydrate, it's a carbohydrate. You can have a can of Coke or you can have a muffin or bagel. That's never been my approach. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying it's not right for you to follow. I'm just saying that it's always been my experience to kind of properly track, monitor, and prepare all of my foods and always keep them high quality. Yeah, so, give it a try. Monitor your results based on A and point B, and if you're seeing results and if you like that way of dieting, eating, then stay with it. Low carb, Christian, high carb, and the same amount of calories. Okay, let me touch upon this though. So the question here about my experience on low carbs. I do remember that when I was even weeks out from a competition, my carbohydrate intake was still something like 300, 380 grams. I mean, it was maybe 4 or 5 weeks out. And because of the amount of energy I was putting out or expenditure through my cardio and through weight training, I was still able to see results. But the closer I get to the competition, I was reducing it down, especially the last week or two. I've got a really good article on my website, Rob Richards Fitness. Go to that and just search carb cycle or peak week, I think it is. Let me see if I can find it as well while I talk about it. And that I give the numbers exactly about how many carbs the intake I do and at what point I drop them. So again, going back to like the beginning of point A and your end point, I'd say definitely keep carbohydrates in. We need them for weight training. I know at times I kind of go off and I don't have carbs, but if we're talking about a general kind of consensus about this, my protein carbs are at least at 40% of my daily intake, fats about 20%, and then as I continue down this, the following weeks, my protein would be about the same, my carbs would drop down, and my calorie intake would drop a little bit. So I think keeping carbs up certainly gives you a point at which you can manipulate and adjust. If you keep carbs too low, your body's going to start to do a couple of things. You're going to have to get your calories, because you need a certain amount of calories per day, regardless. So you're going to get your calories from somewhere else, protein and fats, and then people start to freak out that you're having too much protein and they don't want to eat that much fats. So I'd have carbs in. It was something like 1.7 to 2 grams of carbs per pound of body weight, and I found over the following weeks at probably the 5-week interval, 9 weeks, and then definitely by 10 and 11, I would reduce the carb intake down to almost 100 grams. So I want to find on my website this peak week, because it talks exactly about, here it is, talks exactly about that question. Let me see if I can hold it up. So yeah, include carbs in, and then I drop them down. This is the article here. Okay, so it's Rob Richards Fitness. Just search peak week, and it's pretty much a full article about. There you go, and you get a free training plan too. So go check that out. Talks about the types of carbohydrates, how much, when to have them, when to cut it down, and I'll post the link after this video. I want to tell you that just because it's a lot more than I can talk about right now, and it's much more to the point rather than me talking on and on and on. I realize I do that. Okay, back to the questions. Someone asking about Portugal a lot. I was in Portugal. I work with Prozis Nutrition a lot. So I was over there a few years ago. You know what? Hit up Prozis. If you want me back in Portugal, go to contact Prozis. Tell them that you want to do a seminar, a fitness workshop, something there, and see if we can do something back out. Okay, refeed. Alexandru, talk about a refeed, please, and cheat meals. Cool. All right, I touched upon this a little bit in my last video, but seeing as though we're talking about cardio and conditioning, I got into ab training soon as well. Refeed. You know what? I never used to do them. Oh, now we're talking about carb cycling, lower carb days and a higher carb day. Yes, I do them, and that's in stage 3, if you like. So this 12-week thing I keep talking about, it's just a good way to look at it, to be able to segment them down. So I'd have weeks 1 to 4. That's my baseline. That's what I establish, a set calorie intake, and kind of let my body get into a set routine. Weeks 5 through to 9, so the middle section there, those 12 weeks, that's where I'd start to manipulate and adjust carb intake, start to push up my cardio amount. So if my carb intake was 280 grams, by the end of week 9, I'd have set points, probably every 4 days, I think it was, where I'd reduce 15% of my carb intake. Again, I realized this is like, really, Rob, you're gonna be that like anal about those numbers? Yes, I was. And if I'm gonna go back to something that I wanna replicate those results, I'm gonna do the same thing again. So I'd manipulate my carbs. And then those final 4 weeks, final 3 weeks plus that 4th week, which is considered peak week, I'd use carb manipulation, where I'd go back to my original baseline intake of, let's say, 280 grams. I'd have 3 days of 25% less carbs, and then on the 4th day, 40% more carbs than my baseline. We'll talk more about that because there's way more than I can just kind of touch upon now. But as far as a refeed day, I just wouldn't. I'd keep my diet so consistent and clean for those full 12 weeks. And I think back when I was 22, the second competition year that I was doing, I got in the best conditioning I've ever been able to match since. And that was because I did everything I knew how to the letter, constantly. And I definitely do think if you're following everything as finely kind of tuned as you can, you're going to see a difference more than if you just do things but not really have a full understanding of it. So this really comes down to whether you just, you want to fit it into your lifestyle, and you want to get in great shape and look good and feel good. There's perhaps not a need to do everything like so like fickle to the detail, but if you're doing a competition photo shoot or just want to have those bragging rights and beat your training partner, then I do see a benefit in doing everything. But a refeed day, the reason I didn't do a refeed day, because I felt, and I still do, that if I'm taking my body down this journey, if you like, I'm reducing my calorie intakes and really controlling the amount and types of food that I'm putting in, that my body would continually give up a little bit more body fat without me forcing it, without me putting it into a state of alert, a shock. And so if I added more food in, especially if it's more of a cheat day or cheat meal, that would give my body a kind of a reassurance that it's not a controlled starvation, and I'd basically dump these empty calories or excess calories, even if it's good, healthy food, extra calories to kind of show my body that, don't worry, there's extra food here on the way. So I'm sure people are going to have different opinions on that. That's just for me. If you are going to do a refeed, a cheat meal rather, look, I would do it after a big heavy workout like a leg day or a back day after a session, so that your body has more of a need, a requirement for them. And maybe in the following days, simply reduce your carb intake by a quarter. I'm not going to get too specific on numbers now, but drop your carbs down by not too much, and then have a big workout, and then have your cheat meal or your refeed day, get your workout done early morning, so that you've created more of a need for muscle glycogen, for calories, for energy, for fuel in your body. All right, let's go back to another question. Nelson asking, when I compete again? Look, we all know how things have changed with the competition. There's so many more organizations now. Back when I competed, certainly in kind of 2008, 9, 10, 11, I just felt it was different. I don't know, maybe there's a lot more competition. Of course there is. So I do want to compete again. I just kind of know that the odds are more stacked against me, purely based on just the amount of competition and the amount of people competing in the categories. But definitely a challenge. And I'd love to be able to see if what I can do now with my body 10, 11 years after first competing, whether I can still achieve a better result. I think I can. It just comes down to a schedule. I was committing a lot of time years ago, like 3 hours a day, not 3 hours in the gym, but the food prep, the cardio, the weight training, and there's a lot more going on now. So I definitely want to, I don't know when, I'll keep you guys posted. Okay, someone asking if I spin, like my profile pic, will I lose all the fats? Spinning, I can only presume that you're talking about cardio spin, like a spin bike. That was one of my best forms of cardio for me. I wouldn't do it too much, maybe 45 minutes an hour, and probably only 2 or 3 times a week. But look, you got to monitor the results. You got to see based on your weight, your body composition, if you like, and just how you look. So take pictures, look at yourself in the mirror, or have other people take some photos so that you can really see. And after 3 or 4 weeks of doing this type of cardio, see if you're in a better position. If you feel you've lost too much weight, if you haven't got as much energy, go back and change something. Which is why I said try and present and write everything down on, you know, a kind of a monthly planner, so that you can identify and see if, you know what, maybe I was doing too much cardio. Maybe looking at it now, I was doing an hour every other day. I only need to drop that down to 30 minutes. So definitely have something that you can compare your results against. And look, I'll always say this, if you guys are interested in working with me one-on-one, hit me up on Facebook, send me a message. Currently I'm doing an offer on my personal training, coaching, both in the gym, if you happen to be in California here, or online. And it's all built up around you. You do a full questionnaire, and I'll create programs and plans for you. It's not just a preset one. So send me a message on Facebook and we can talk about that. If not, there's like tons and tons of free stuff on my website, on my YouTube, on my Facebook. So start off with that, and if you have further questions or you really want something completely unique to you, then by all means hit me up, and I'll be happy to work with you if we can make it work and get things going. Back to questions. Intermittent fasting. Yeah, this is... sorry, the name's just gone off. I saw the question. Intermittent fasting, never really locked into it too much myself. I know there's been some great kind of studies on there and reports. I just personally haven't got much experience of it because I was so fixated on eating set meals at set times. And there have been times where I've missed large portions of meal or really reduced my calorie intakes for so long to kind of experiment. But I've always kind of reverted back to that set meal, set times, a very, if you like, old school approach to bodybuilding. And that's always been my approach. So I can't give, sorry, someone just posted Rob Richards is diesel. I don't know what that means. Sorry. I've always gone back to something that has worked well for me, and that's what I've stuck to ever since. So intermittent fasting, I probably couldn't give you much insight into that purely because I haven't experimented or seen much benefit of doing it. Someone asking about, Joe Walsh asking about product core. All right. I don't want to promote too much on these Facebook streams because I want it to be more about answering questions and giving you information. Core is, but I will talk about this. Someone did ask about it, and I'll keep it brief. Core is, so I've got True Performance Nutrition, started 3 years ago. Something that we've recently just completely rebranded to kind of bring it up to date with something that much more about sports focus, athletic performance, and not just trying to sell products on there. So we've cut everything back down. At the moment, we're manufacturing or looking into a complete raw plant-based protein. It's a meal replacement. High protein, moderate amount of fat, minimal carbs, plus it's going to have digestive enzymes, probiotics, and probably thinking, all right, what's the difference between proteins or any other product out there? Really making something that I feel first and foremost would match my nutritional needs if I'm unable to eat. And that's more important for me than ever because I don't have the time. I know it sounds like an excuse, but so what if it is? I don't have the time to really commit to preparing all of my foods each and every day. So I want basically a powdered protein, but I don't just want to have a protein powder. I want something complete nutrition and be able to blend it and actually taste good. So we're working on that. Core is basically it was in a basic term a fat burner, but we've completely reformulated and rethought about it, and it's much more of a pre-training aid. I'm not saying it's a pre-workout. I'm not saying it's just a fat burner. The purpose is you take it before training, and it sounds a cliche just talking about it. So all I can say is look into it, have a look on the website, True Performance Nutrition, just search Core, It's on my Facebook and website too. And it's a combination of things. It's for clarity and mental focus. The one thing that we found people say the most is when they take it, they feel just into it. Not like buzzing with energy like some crazy pre-workout, but more just completely focused on into what they want to do. So if you're in the gym, I just used some this morning when I did a trap and a calf workout, which I'll edit the little video and post it on my Facebook page after. I just want to keep on doing it. I just want to keep on going. My will, if you like, it's the only best way I can describe it. My will and my focus and my determination, hence this tattoo actually means that. I got that after my first competition 11 years ago now. It's Arabic for kind of roughly translates into determination. And the other thing is it does actually have a lot of active ingredients. We haven't got any proprietary blends in there. So you can go and have a look at the website and see exactly what we put in and what's not in there. Everything is transparent, and we want to be as upfront and honest and real about what we're doing, because we want to do it first and foremost because we like it and we use it, and then make something that we're not going to push down your throats, so to speak, but it's there. So look, pre-training, cardio, weight training, and then have your usual post-workout. You can add in some glutamine and BCAA to it, but it's really take 30 minutes for a workout. And yeah, lasts a month. It's 4 capsules per serving. They're all vegan, gelatin-free. We've basically got Sports Informed verified. We just got to get the certification on the next batch. But we've got a male and a female version. They are different formulas, basically so that the females can take the full serving of all of the active ingredients without having as much of the energetic boost, if you like, the males need, because there's different weights, of course. So I love it. It's my product, so of course I'm going to speak highly of it. But it's been through 4 generations now, and it's the best one we've got. So if you want to find out more, just go to trueperformancenutrition.com. It's on the homepage. Have a look at the male and female. It's free shipping, and we're working on a complete abs and cardio guide as well to give away free with that too. So we'll support you as much as we can, and you know, I'm always here on Facebook. I may not get back to every message, but direct message, post on these videos, and I'll do my best. And Twitter as well, I kind of respond best on that just because I see them at the top. Someone asking about Skype sessions. Yeah, you know, again, hit me up on Facebook. If it works well for us, I'm more than happy to do that. Someone asking here, Rez, awesome name by the way, asking about keto diet and what do I take after a workout if I'm on that diet. Good point here, and I kind of touched upon this with my diet recently, a couple of months ago actually, about ketogenic diet. I know some people really don't conform to that. I've gone through various different types of diet, really just to experiment and see the results based on what I know as being the standard for what works for me, and seeing if something works better, about the same, or not as well. So with the keto diet, it's kind of tough because you don't have, basically you don't include carbohydrates in various forms in your body. So after a weight workout, I'd have as a plant-based protein. Another reason why I want to shift over to that kind of area, purely because it's something I'm focused on and that I'm doing. And so I'd have a plant-based protein. I'm not going to mention names, but there's tons of variations out there and products available. And then handful of nuts. If I made a shake, a blend, it would be avocado in there, avocado, some cashew or almond butter, 1 or 2 scoops of plant-based protein, be some BCAAs, glutamine. Greens, I'm big on greens at the moment, blending. So kale, spinach, celery, and then a handful of nuts, maybe 12 raw almond kernels. And that I would feel that I'd never feel bloated on it. So there are some benefits to that, and we can talk more about that later. Okay, let's go through someone asking about height increasing exercise. I've never seen a machine like that. I've seen a machine that will spread your legs a little bit more. So great for the mixed martial arts and likes and gymnastic type stuff, but not an exercise that will stretch you out, make you taller. Okay, a lot of questions. Someone asking if I'm vegan. No, but each to their own. So if you are vegan, you're trying to find the best meal type. I'm probably not the best person to be asking about that. Again, it just comes down to experience and my own personal view, but I'm not trying to say one is right and one is wrong. We each have our own intentions and reasons, and this is just mine. Okay, okay, someone asked, nighttime, what is your last meal and what would that be? Anthony Rawsthorne. Hope I said your name right, buddy. Listen, I go back to my live stream where I show my meal prep. There's this kind of casein, cottage cheese and almond butter that I mix together. That's what I have pretty much every night. I actually filmed a little video the other night, really pissed my girlfriend off because she's trying to cook dinner and eat, and I've got the light and the camera set up and I don't want anyone near. But yeah, I want to make these little videos at least good enough quality that when you look at it, you see exactly what I'm getting at rather than just some like shaky camera up here. So I'll post that and that'll be on my Facebook and my YouTube in the next couple of days. But it's like 80 grams of cottage cheese, a scoop of casein protein, which works better than whey for this example, a teaspoon of almond butter, a little bit of stevia extract, a little bit of cinnamon. Put it in a blender if you like, or mix it up with a fork, and it's amazing. Just try it. Okay, someone asking if I can sing a song. You don't want to hear that. I'll drop views right down. Someone asking about Masara Hansny. Again, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name. What started me into bodybuilding and what attracted me? You know, it comes down to when you're a young teenager, 14, 15, you want to, I think, for me, definitely, you want to start to identify as a man. You want to become a man, and you have the role figures and aspirations. And not that I wanted to be a bodybuilder necessarily, but I wanted to change my look. I wasn't fat, I wasn't skinny, I was just a typical 13, 14-year-old kid. So for me, it was getting shoulders and getting abs and looking like that Men's Health cover model. I mentioned before a person called Greg Avedon. Search him. Still looks great now. He's in that category with Sean Phillips, one of the original EAS brothers, author of a book called Absolution. I'm a big fan of those guys because I wanted to kind of emulate what they were doing. And I think they're a rare breed now. You know what I mean, based on a lot of social media content and things that people put out. But these guys were always ones that it was about valuable information. It was about something more than just themselves. It was about the love of the sport, weight training, fitness, you know, getting in great shape. And that's still what I love. So it was that's what got me into it. Wanting to be that, not role model as such, but wanting to be in that position because that was my sport. I played soccer, football, sorry, becoming Americanized now. I played football, tennis, did a lot of mountain biking, windsurfing, snowboarding, and weight training I just felt was completely my sport, something that I could, if I learned as much as I could about it, I could be one of the best. That's what got me into it. It was that attraction, that allureness into something that I could completely own and at the end of the day have control over me and how I look and how I feel. So that was that. We always talk for way too long. All right, fat loss and abdominal training. We'll do that on Wednesday. I'll do another live stream at this time, 11 a.m. and I'll put some more information out. Go back to a couple of questions here. Someone asked when I was in my best shape or condition. Conditioning wise, I was 22. I don't know where that photo is now. Somewhere back on my Facebook or some other forums. I'll try and find it. Certainly on my Instagram at some point back in the many posts. But I was 22 and I just felt my conditioning was, it's like 4% body fat. For that age and for that build, I just had every visible muscle separation out. And I purely put it down to just doing everything I knew how to all of the time. Well, Joshua, again, these names are every type of name I'm seeing up here. When we're talking about bulking, I've talked a little bit about it with the diet, but yeah, that seems to come up a lot. So we'll touch upon it in another video, maybe Friday. Someone asking about a 7-day plan. So at the moment, I'm training pretty much every muscle group once each week. So it's basically no scheduled rest day. I'll just take a rest day as and when I feel the need for. That's on my website, and also go on to True Performance Nutrition, click on my athlete profile, you can see the breakdown there. Okay, Tom, let me read this. Fat loss seems to be the most elusive thing I've ever come across. I can easily put on muscle, but fat loss is something I've never had to do until I worked in an office in London and put it on for the first time in my life. Welcome to the club, Tom. Yeah, I feel that too, especially as we get a little bit older, the body starts to kind of slow down and doesn't seem to want to respond. Listen, just to kind of blurt out some simple kind of advice. Definitely food intake. I know it's tough if you're working in an office. Being consistent with how much you eat and when you eat will help with that. And I've talked a lot about a routine. At this kind of point, just getting in cardio, even if you're in the gym for an hour and 15, let's say, give yourself a good 50-minute weight training, and then 15-20 minutes on the rower, the treadmill if you like, and just try that interval training. Stop and go, stop and go. That will take care of a little bit more. And putting on body fat is, if you can stop the body from storing body fat, you're going to have a much easier job of basically reducing it. So focus more on the things that may contribute towards the body wanting to store, which will come down to really food intake, calories in, and how and when you're using them. So being consistent and clean and monitoring the food. If you can prepare your foods and take them with you to the office, you're going to have a much better chance of maintaining more of a steady condition than eating various types and amounts of foods and not being consistent with that. Someone asking if I want Mr. Olympia. I did. Not now. My focus is on, I want to write more books. I want to do a ton more video content. I want to, Mr. Olympia was definitely a goal a few years ago. It's just, look at my body type. I don't match the guys up on those stage. So, not going to happen for me. Someone asking about Kafi. I got to pick an easier name to say. Best exercise for bicep peak. Tons of videos I've got on both my Facebook page, my video profile, and my YouTube channel. In fact, full videos focused on exercises that I feel help focus on that. Not an exercise that will literally create a peak, but certain exercises will work a short head of that bicep muscle more than others, and that's where you're going to get the main benefit from. Okay, a couple more questions. Tom Collingwood. I can say someone's name. Okay, work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Dang, night shift there. When should you work out? Okay, thank you for keep posting your question, Tom. So if you work in the night shift, I don't have an experience on this. I haven't like personal experience. I haven't been in that position. I would say just based on, if this is something that you do continually as opposed to kind of you cycle in and out, if that's your kind of day-to-day routine, I'd say get the workout in earlier. So if you go to work at 6 p.m., try and get workout in maybe 4 or 5 p.m. Therefore, you're up and you're eating and you're feeding and you're replenishing and you're able to recover whilst you're at work, even though it could pretty much affect your energy levels. So that's something that you might need to, depending on the type of work that you do. But just based on that information, I'd say work out first, then go to work and get all of your meals in. Only because I found if I work out at the end of the day, I just don't have the energy or that will that I spoke about earlier. And if I do, I start adding in other, supplements or pre-workouts and stuff, and then I start to get buzzed and I can't go to sleep and rest. So that's why I like to get my workout in first thing in the morning. My mind is not cluttered with everything that's gone on in the day. I wake up, I either do my cardio or I eat, have a shake or something and get to the gym and do my workout. So just based on that, I would say work out first, then go to work, get your food in as normal, like it would be a normal day. And then by 6 a.m. when it comes around, you're not having to motivate yourself in the gym early morning. Maybe you like that, but one of those times, unless you can get an hour off in your night shift and work out at midnight. But my 2 cents would be in the middle. All right, it's always been about an hour. Let's get one more question. So guys, make it a good one. Let's keep it about cardio just because we've talked a lot. I've talked a lot about cardio. Thank you for listening for the most part. So cardio. One question about cardio. The first question I see about cardio, I will answer. Someone asking about Body Power Expo. you know, we were trying to get down there. I spoke about this last time. Bringing the whole operation from here in California over to the UK isn't feasible just yet. And even though I tried to get there just to kind of, you know, be around you guys, I love the Body Power Expo. We felt that we'd want to do it right and do it big. So next year we're trying to come back bigger and better than where we were at with 2013, and really have some great experiences for you guys. You know, do a little photo shoot, cover model there, a little pose off or something, some little challenges, give you a bunch of free stuff. You can try all of the products and experience and interact rather than just kind of being shuffled along and pick some samples off of the table. When I said ask about cardio, someone posted cardio question mark. That's the whole point of this video. Cardio before workout. We spoke about that before. Play this video back, separate the cardio and the weight training. How many times do I do cardio in a week? Parlik Hazard. I love getting these questions from everywhere. If you're starting, okay, first thing, I think you need to have a focus point, an end goal. This would be the last kind of thing I talk about. An end point, and by that I mean, it's all too easy just to kind of start eating better and start doing cardio, and then like so many weeks and months go past and you start to wonder, to what effect has it really had? So before you start to commit to anything, just spend 20-30 minutes like on a notepad or a calendar and put together your thoughts. There's tons of information on my website too, but just put together your thoughts on, here's your starting point, beginning of May. Let's go May, June, July. By the end of July, you want to be at a certain point. Maybe you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to get your body fat from maybe 15, 16 down to 10. Doesn't really matter what your point is, as long as it's not too extreme. What matters is that you've got a start point and an end point. Then it's about basically just testing stuff and seeing if you're seeing progress. Is it working or is it not working? And if it's not working, what do you need to change? And if you're just not seeing any results, go back to your original plan or what you've got set up ahead and manipulate some things. So start off and introduce cardio in, let's say, every other day for 30 minutes if it's low intensity cardio, and then 15 minutes if it's interval training. And then over the following weeks, each week or every other week, increase both the length of time. So from 30 minutes, the maximum I would do is an hour. So I'd do 30, 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. So you can see how I increase those. Interval training, 12 minutes, 15, 18, 20. I wouldn't go much above 20. And start to fill in the gaps after a couple of weeks where you might go low intensity, HIIT training. Low intensity, day off from cardio, HIIT training. So there's this progressive advancement of both the amount of cardio you're doing and the frequency and intensity. So it differs for everyone. I've got tons of cardio information on my website. There's another thing on my blog, Rob Rich's Fitness, about how I do cardio. Tons of videos with True Performance as well. So yeah, look, I'm gonna wrap things up now because I want to talk more about ab training. We can talk more specifically about types of cardio within this kind of time frame. Listen, thanks for watching. Thanks for all of your questions. I see you posting everything now. Actually, first girl question that I've seen. How many times do I have to do cardio in order to lose fat along with weight loss? If I do HIIT, and then how do you space it out? Okay, I've kind of just touched upon this. Debasri, I need to get better with names. Just like I was saying, give yourself a span of at least 4 to 6 weeks, and I would start off, if it's interval training, on there's no reason why you can't do interval training every other day, providing your calorie intake isn't too low. And if you're feeling drained, tired from it, maybe give yourself an extra 2 days in between that. So you've got to really kind of test yourself, use yourself as that. Always ask yourself questions. Do I feel more tired now? Do I feel like I am losing weight? Let me check my weight and my body composition after 2 weeks. Am I in the right place? If not, something needs to get changed. So allow yourself to kind of progressively increase over a gentle period of time. Your body's gonna give you results much more. I knew that would happen. My girlfriend starts calling me and it gets blocked. So yeah, have that consistent kind of increase in the amount of cardio and the types of cardio that you do rather than just trying to throw it in all day. I'll try and do more video if this is what you're interested in. I'll post this video on my playlist on Facebook. And yeah, listen, if you want to direct message me, you're more than welcome to. I try and answer the questions on there, but I get a lot of them. So it's easier to do videos like this. If you're interested in more working with me one-on-one, by all means do that. If you want to try core, both his or hers, okay, she keeps calling. Yeah, if you want to try core, head over to True Performance Nutrition, look at the ingredients, look at what it is. If you have any questions about it, feel free to hit me up or direct message me again. And yeah, I'll be back. Someone said I'm too big. I'm not, I don't think I'm too big. Anyway, thanks a lot, you're welcome. What's your page called, Rob? What, my Facebook page? You're on it. My website, everything's on my bio, the about page. True Performance Nutrition, Rob Riches Fitness, and Rob Riches Fitness on Facebook. I mean, if you go onto any social site and search either Rob Riches or Rob Riches Fitness, you're gonna see which one of those is mine. I'll be back here Wednesday. Hopefully this isn't too plain and boring for you. It's just much easier than being at a gym or at a grocery store, supermarket, walking around. It's just easier to be able to have the laptop, not have everything else going around and like people working out in the background like they were the other day, and it's just easier to be able to answer more questions. On that note, some people are asking about my dog, so wait, bear with me. I'm gonna get her in, see if she's outside because she's the cutest dog you're ever gonna see. Hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hi, we found her. Look at this dog. Give up. She is the bane of my life. I love her, but anyone who's got a dog, especially a little puppy boxer like this, she's 2 years old. Oh my God, the amount of hair she sheds and constant needs attention. She's a little lover. But yeah, if you followed me on Snapchat or anything else, you'll all right, you go down. She's like that 24/7, so she's my cardio at the moment. And yeah, this is why I don't have her in the Facebook video, because she's like this all the time. So all right guys, thanks for all of your comments and support. I'll see you back here Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are on Twitter, keep an eye out there in the morning on Wednesday, because I put out a kind of a poll based on what you want, and we'll get something going on here too. I'll do a little poll on Facebook for those of you who aren't on Twitter. Kind of put some topics out, and whichever one that you want to see the most of, we'll try and address those and focus on that. So thank you guys. Yeah, stay motivated. I always say that, but I mean it. It's tough to always be focused and motivated. So just looking at you guys and how someone said my dog's the tap dancing champion. She's everything. Okay, we're going off track again. Just by seeing all of you guys, it's motivating me, because like you guys are spending your time to sit here and watch me just talking my house about stuff, and it's like I feel much more motivated now than when I first got back from the gym this morning. So Karim, there we go, I said your name. So someone asking what macros Lola is on. High protein. I try and give her good clean food, but yeah, she eats a little bit of what I have all the time. This is what I mean. Look at, she's shedding at the moment, and it's just, girlfriend can clean that up later. All right guys, enough talking. Listen, get on with your day. Have a look at my website, have a look at the True Performance, find some other information on there, some articles, a lot of what I've talked about with cardio, and I'll see you back here Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.